It's my understanding that when this bill was first discussed on September 25th for a second and final reading, that there was a procedural error. However, on that night of September 25th, the council listened as many residents voiced their opposition to this project. Councilman Ron Huff also stated that the council had received numerous letters and phone calls in opposition to the project. At that time, the council voted unanimously to limit the height of this project to 12 stories only. It was the understanding of the public that the November 27th meeting was simply to correct a procedural error and to designate the exact height of the 12-story project. Mr. Huff, Mr. Eady, and Mr. Purvis understood that, and they stood by their vote on November 27th to continue to honor the wishes of the voters, and you are to be commended. To Mr. Barker, Mrs. Martin, and Mr. Gass, I remind you that you too voted no to the 300-foot project, and you agreed to limit the structure to only 12 stories. You were convinced at the September 25th meeting, and we would expect you to continue to honor your vote to the voters. As has been stated many, many times to you in letters, council meetings, phone calls, and conversations in person, a 300-foot structure anywhere in Branson would do critical damage to the image of Branson, the beauty of the area, and our designation as a family destination. Tourists have stated over and over and over that they appreciate the small town atmosphere of Branson, the lack of a big city image, and the opportunity to come to a place where they can get away from the rat race back home, sit back, relax in a quiet town loaded with opportunity for entertainment, lake activities, and peaceful surroundings. To build any structure at 300 feet, but especially at this particular location, I believe would be offensive to our tourists and to the residents. I asked you to consider that at this particular location, it is very closely situated next to several residential neighborhoods. Any extremely high structure at this location could possibly invade the privacy of those residents living in those neighborhoods. People who are in the higher elevation rooms would be looking directly down into the backyards of each of these residents. If they're wanting to sunbathe, if they're wanting to wash their cars in their swimsuits, they're going to feel that they're being looked at from guests who are in the hotel, and they will lose a portion of the privacy of their own backyard. A case in point for another high structure is Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Many years ago, a hotel developer built a multi-story hotel on one of the side roads in Gatlinburg, and there was public outcry from locals and tourists alike. The hotel definitely did not fit the Smoky Mountain image and the landscape that had brought tourists there for many years. It was considered a blight on the landscape. Within just a few years, the additional developments that came from that hotel and projects throughout the city took the city in a different direction, to the point that Gatlinburg, Tennessee became a national example of how not to grow a city. It has taken Gatlinburg many years to overcome that huge mistake. To vote yes to this 300-foot project would increase our tourism by a very small amount. But if we lose $2 million, we have gained nothing and lost what can never be regained, hometown America. If Silver Dollar City were to secure Budweiser as a sponsor in their saloon, that would be devastating to their business. If we allow a 300-foot project to be built anywhere in Branson, it will be devastating to us all. Every business in town will lose. I am in total opposition to this project at 300 feet. If they had asked to build, the developer had asked to build a 5-star rated mountain lodge facility in keeping with the image, landscape, and beauty of the area, none of us would be here discussing this issue tonight. If it is built at all, it must be held to 12 stories and no more than 150 feet in total height. To approve anything more than that would be to go against the will of the majority of the voters. Please do not take away what so many have spent their lives developing for Branson. It has made us what we are. We are growing. The Chamber is reaching markets we've never been able to reach before, and there are millions looking for what we already have in Branson. Don't take that away from the residents, the business owners, and the tourists who can't wait to get here to escape the rat race of a big city. You owe it to everyone to hold this development to 150 feet. And at this time, I'd like for Chris Meyer to come forward. He has some photograph concepts for you to look at that will show you this project from several different angles throughout the city.
so she can pass these out to you. And I might be short ones, but I'll give you one when I'm done. Unless we can give her a black and white one, I guess. Judy, maybe you could hand one of those per row, that way they can pass it down and see what I'm talking about. My name is Chris Meyer, 157 Country Bluff Drive. Last time we spoke, I suggested a site study. And so I've prepared a basic site study I would like for you to view tonight, and I'd like to go through with it with you at this time and talk about it. If you'll notice on the first page, this is looking from this candlestick area at the property, so you can see it up in that area. If you turn the page, we basically took the existing one building and increased it to 260-foot estimate, so you can now have a visual of that from that location. You can see it there. If you go to the next page, this page actually shows the Radisson, and I basically just wanted to show you what height does with the beauty and overall integration within a community. So if you turn to the next page, you'll notice it sticks out quite a bit when you raise it up. It really isn't cohesive to the environment. And one of the unique things about the Radisson is it's built down below grade, and so it's not very high up. If you'll notice the next page, this photo was taken over by the new Arnie and Acres building. You'll see the project as it exists today. You'll turn it, and this is just a sample of what it could look like. Might not be, obviously it won't be this, it could be a much bigger footprint, but I think it's to give you guys an idea of what it will look like potentially as people come into town. If you'll look at the next page after that, this is kind of a strange picture, and what this is from, this is taken at the front gate of Kids Country, Kanakuk Camps. I'm sure most of all of you are familiar with Kanakuk Camps. They've been here, I think, over 80 years. It's a national treasure, in my opinion. Thousands of families come to this area because of it. Now, you'll notice with the leaves probably on the trees, it's unlikely you would see that building. That's today. If this is built, it'll be very visible to the campers. And I think that takes away from their environment. A lot of these kids are coming from the city to get into the small area, and now they will potentially have these high-rise condos where people can look down with their binoculars at what these kids are doing. I don't think that's worth it. Now this picture you see here is a picture from north of town on Highway 65. You'll notice straight there in front of you there, the Cedar Cliff. And really all I did, and even though this is a different location, I felt like those billboards really stuck out. And I wanted to give you a visual of, as people are driving to town, what it might look like if we have these 300-foot buildings as people are approaching town. And you'll see that there. The next picture is right at the top before Target and Home Depot. It's further up the road a little bit. And you'll turn the page, and once again you'll see how it sticks out. Definitely, some people, such as Mr. Logan, have called it a sore thumb, understanding why he mentions that. Now that building there actually could be much bigger in that scenario. I don't know. The next shot is across at the senior residential area. You can see it's very hard even in the winter to see the building, the Branson Edge. Obviously it's built, and I didn't put the nice pretty picture in there, but you'll notice that they'll have a big structure there. The next photo is from Highway 248 and the exit ramp at 65. And once again, this is for visual purposes alone. You can see how dominating that building potentially could be. This photo here, where you see the tower in it, is from the Paul Henning State Park area. And what I did on the next page is I put the building right next to the Branson Towers, or really right over it, because we wanted to try and keep it as to scale as possible. Realizing that's not the correct location, but that tower is very tall. I've been noticing it, and it's just to give an idea of how you can have a scenic view and all of a sudden it's not very scenic anymore. So I hope that this puts some visual. I mean, I'm not an expert at this, and I work with a graphic designer because I think a picture speaks 1,000 words. And I tell you, most people that I've shown this to, the few that I have, their mouths drop. In our last meeting, it was stated by the developer he would not build it if he did not get approved for 300 feet or 25 stories. All hotels in Branson have built in years past with 12 stories or less, based on what I know. This would suggest that they were feasible. It was also stated that a feasibility study has not been done. So I'm thinking, what is so important about the 25 stories that the developer tries to use the strategy that he's using? No feasibility study, but it has to be 25 stories or 300 feet. Something just doesn't add up. Why doesn't the developer want to work with the community to create a win-win situation? Why is the developer resisting to compromising the height of the project? If the project is as great as been stated, they should be willing to work with the community on this and follow our existing rules. Many of us have stated publicly that we would compromise and go to the 12 stories because it's better than 25. We're not really happy about it, but that's the part when you're working towards a resolution. I mean, I don't hear people saying not do it. I don't hear people saying that. It's just we want control on height. So I found out that Hammond's Towers in Springfield is 22 stories, and I know it's been stated in the past that this is going to be the tallest building in southwest Missouri. I don't think we have to build a bigger building than Springfield or John Q. Hammond. Is that important? You know how tall the castle is at Disney World in Florida? Just anybody going to give a guess? What do you think? 189 feet. Think about that. And you know it visually how big that looks. This building is bigger than that. Judy, could you hand those next two items out to the alderman, please? The height issue, I believe, is not one that customers really care about. And I don't just say that based upon my own personal feeling. The 2000, and what you're receiving now is a summary of the 2006 National Leisure Travel Monitor. This has been ongoing research for years. It's for folks all across the country, and it lists the items that are extremely or very influential in hotel and resort selection. Folks, the height of a building doesn't even register on this. In fact, it states that 8 of 10 travelers favor hotels with fewer than 300 guest rooms. And you can see all that information there as she hands that out. In the Branson brand study that the City Council paid for 2 years ago, the Sterling Group, through research, listed some very key identifiers. The first identifier was values. The fourth identifier down there was the beautiful natural setting of the lakes and Ozark Mountains. The more and more we make this look like a city, the less we can maintain the natural setting. So one of our key advantages in quality goes away, or starts to go away. How is that smart? How is that good? Page 23 of that same study talked about active relaxation. Our brand supports that the comfortable atmosphere relaxes your pace and creates family bonds. I don't see how big, tall buildings create a more comfortable atmosphere. To me, it creates a more high-stress, fast-paced city atmosphere. That's just my opinion. When you look at the Branson brand pyramid, one of the Branson features is Ozark Beauty. It doesn't say anything about building beauty. And that's at the base. The brand equities deal with being real and genuine. Is being real and genuine more likely to be a big corporate building? I don't know. These are questions I want you guys to think about. You know, feeling safe is also on here. People feel safer in smaller communities, I believe. If you have somebody today, do they feel safer in New York City or in Branson? I think we all would know the answer to what that is. Ginny, can you go ahead and hand that other hand out? In the past, some have said, well, we need this building because it will attract new baby boomers. Well, folks, if all it is about is building a building, then the chateau should be full every night. And I don't know if Stephen Marshall's here, but I'm sure he would be happy to tell you that's not the case at his hotel. Now, if that were the case, that we just need to build this new building, we're going to get a whole bunch of people in here, then why are the baby boomers going to Scottsdale, Arizona, Vail, Colorado, Carmel, California, and even Myrtle Beach, where they have very strict height restrictions, which you have in front of you there? Scottsdale is at 60 to 75 feet. Vail is at 82.5. Carmel is 2 stories above grade. And even Myrtle Beach is 120 feet along the coast and 80 feet other areas. Planning and zoning happens across this country, and these places are very successful, very upscale. See, it's not about the height of the building. It's about the experience of everything. These people have obviously been very successful without having to have tall buildings. You know, people aren't sitting at home saying, gee, that hotel's not high enough, I can't go to that destination. That's not how that works. Now, Judy, I think I've got another handout, I think, there that is Smith Travel Research. Some copies short. You got this one right here?
Yeah, there was 2 copies short.
Okay, so they already got this.
Okay. The last 2.
Okay, I didn't realize you had it. I just give this to you for information purposes only. You guys can look here and look at that. On the City of Branson's website, it states, Branson, where values are the difference. My question are, whose values?